Welcome to our neck of the woods. This is San Francisco International Airport. I've got my aircraft parked at the general aviation ramp, and I wanted to show you the startup procedures for the UH-1. Victor model is the medevac version, so let's take a look. Let's get into the cockpit. Take a look around. Let's see how this works out. This is obviously configured for passengers. Usually I would have litter stanchions, oxygen stands, medical equipment, all kinds of stuff hanging in there, but this is not a bad rendition. Let me close out this view of the stick input. It bugs me. All right. So I've got the standard Army Reg checklist in front of me, and the one thing that this has that bugs me is a rotor brake. We never had a rotor brake in the Army aircraft, but let's make do. All right, looking at our overhead, that's where we're going to start. We're going to take a look at switches and overhead circuit breakers. All are closed, everything's on, and there would usually be amongst these circuit breakers one that was dedicated to the high performance hoist, and they always had that one as an exception to the rest, out and off. The hoist didn't come on until we needed it. All right, per the checklist, let's start from upper left, overhead panel, heater off. There's no dome light necessary at this time. Let's go ahead and turn the anti-collision light on. We're going to leave this into dim and steady. For our outside nav lights, cargo hook is off, and wipers are off, obviously. Outlets bleed air, heating, we'll take care of that later. It's funny, but these rheostat switches, these dimmer and brightening switches for the dash and whatnot, they don't work unless I tell it. They won't even spin until I flip on the battery. So let's go into AC power. AC phase inverter is going to be in the off position. I don't need it yet. We're going to go to essential bus on the voltmeter, and main generator is in on and covered. Starter generator is in start position, and battery is on. Now at this point, conduct a couple tests. We're going to fire test. Okay, firelight works. Watch the fuel gauge. Fuel gauge test works. Let's go with force trim and hydraulics. And then we're going to go ahead and test the tree, as we used to call it. Reset. Boom. And we can brighten those. Just leave those bright as daylight. Fuel switch to the on. Governor is on. De-ice is off. Left and right auxiliary tanks don't apply. Not going to worry about commo right now, but I am going to worry about rolling the throttle to the full up position and then back to the detents. At this point, our pilots would look around, look at the rotor. There she is. And at this point, I'd be out here with a Halon fire extinguisher along with my flight engineer, my crew chief, and the pilot would be ready to pull the trigger, and he would say, "Clear," and from outside we would yell, "Clear and untied." At that point, see the drain on the battery and the master caution switch, or light rather. Now what we're going to be watching for is 40% on the gas producer. Going through 25, 30%, and 40%. We got a good start. Let go of the trigger. Let's get her buttoned up. Okay, now the aircraft is running, but you can see this is a dial here. There's two needles on it that has engine and engine RPM and rotor speed. And what we're going to do, and remember this is governed, we're going to roll her up, and we're going to work at 6,600 RPM on the engine, on the turbine, and 329 RPM on the main motor, rotor system. Notice that I still have a master caution. Instrument inverter is still on. I don't have a beach ball, as you called it. So I'm going to turn the inverter main on. Notice that the master caution light is now off. We're good to go. At this point, we would secure ourselves on the back, get ready to go. And from back here, I would sit right there. That's the view I saw. The pilots would be ready to go. They'd make their commo with the tower, San Francisco Tower. This is medevac 21516. Departure to the north, we have Charlie. They'd give us our feedback, including altimeter settings and wind speed and direction. And then the pilots would turn around, look at us, and say, "Crew, passenger, mission equipment." We would respond with, "Ready rear, sir," and we're ready to fly. This is what it looks like when you're flying drunk, by the way. We're not going to go runways, we're a helicopter, so. To fly is heavenly, but to hover divine. Let's go and get our landing lights off. When this red line's on the speedometer, when knots indicated is at 129 knots, you get this serious shaking. So you gotta retard her back. Bring the nose up a little bit, drop a little power. Then you gotta kind of let go of the cyclic to let her weather vane, to let her get her tail behind herself. Something that's kind of cool about this model is that it has a co-pilot, meaning that I could set it at a particular direction, particular speed, and then say I'm done flying, I would like the co-pilot to take over. And there we go. Co-pilot's got the controls. You have the airplane. Now this was my view of the world in my 4.5 years flying in the back of a Huey. Our commo controls in the back were up in these recesses in the ceiling. Oops. Ain't crap up there, is there? That's an oversight. Look at that candlestick park. parking lot. A big open field of nothingness. It's funny, but I used to go to Candlestick Park to see Giants games, and the guy I went with all the time was my best friend. He was a crew chief. His name was Wesley Van Kuren. My best friend saved my life a number of times, and I named my second-born son after him. I don't even know if Wes knows that. Wesley Van Kuren of New York, Schenectady, New York. After all these years, I still think that's the sexiest flying machine that ever flew. Isn't that something? So I'm going to take controls back, and then we're going to take a look at the Bay Bridge. That's Treasure Island over to our 1 o'clock position there. But I believe that, I don't even know what they call it now, AT&T Field. It's not that anymore. It's like some computer company or something. Anyways. I have the airplane. In my life, I flew over San Francisco so many times. We buzzed the town, did Market Street transitions, coordinated with a helicopter taxi service here called Commodore. Chit-chatted, have a good time. There's our Bay Bridge. And then, of course, the Embarcadero. Not bad, right? You can see Alcatraz off to the 1 o'clock position, about 3 miles out there. Transamerica building. Sutro Tower. Then there's Pier 39 and Fisherman's Wharf and all that. They've even got that submarine and the Edmund O'Brien or whatever it's called, some transport ship out there. It's really cool. Alright, so let's see if we can crash and die for our country here by trying to land on a rooftop. I can remember our instructor pilots always telling our younger pilots, down and forward, down and forward, down and forward. We gotta drop the speed. Lose a little altitude. I'm going to assume that the wind is coming in off the ocean, so Let's slow her down. Bring her down. See how badly I can fuck this up. Slow down. Good thing I'm not a pilot. This would scare people. Jesus. Let's roll off the throttle. D10. Any landing you walk away from, right? Anyways, I wanted to show this off. It's the most beautiful aircraft I've ever seen fly, and I got to be a part of it. And this is on a hospital rooftop in San Francisco. Kind of cool, right?